In this lecture, we're hooking up keyboard controls using the input system so we can move left, right, up, down, and all those good things and flying off the screen at a great pace. Let's get started. Give you a quick bit of info as an overview to start off with. We're going to be implementing a very simple movement scene in this project. There are many ways to set up our project for movement, and you'll hear about old input system and new input system, which basically means a number of versions of Unity ago, they updated and gave us a new way of doing input. In other words, when you push a key, what happens? When you've got a controller and you push a button, what happens? They created a new system. You can still use the old system at this point in time. The new system is infinitely more powerful and deeper and richer and lots more you can do, but the old system is a great way for us to do something quickly and to learn how Unity works without all of the depth of trying to figure out that new system. And also, we've got a choice in terms of how we move the position of our object. So we can manually change the location by saying X is now 1 greater than it was, now it's 1 greater than it was, now it's 1 less than it was. So we can manually move it, or we can apply a force, and that force asks the Unity's physics system to then apply that movement information. So we say, we give an object a shove in a forward direction, and X goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then gravity and friction kicks in and it slows back down to zero movement. In this project, we'll be using the simplest implementation we can, so it's super beginner friendly. That is using the old input system, and we'll be doing manual changes to our location, just so it's nice and simple and we can get something going quickly. Let's remind ourselves within our code what we talked about in the last lecture. We need a way of changing the X value, Y value, and Z value, or in our case, it's going to be the X and the Z, to know, am I pushing to the right, am I pushing to the left, and how that's changing. With our current structure, our variables are not setting an update, so it only knows it once. We're not asking it to consider it every single frame. That's what we're going to do in this lecture. Another piece of information, if we go up to Edit, now top left of the menu system, scroll down and find Project Settings, down near the bottom-ish. Now, for years and years, Unity has defaulted to the old input system, and you had to go out of your way to select the new input system. At some point in Unity 6, they changed this. So if you click on Player within Project Settings, click on Player, scroll down in Other Settings, down until you see Active Input Handling, and you'll see in here which input system you're actually using. At some point, they might get rid of the word new and old, but it's still there, new and old. For this particular project, we're going to be using the old input manager. So if yours says new, or if yours doesn't say old, then click on old. It'll ask you to restart, so go through all those steps just in there. If you don't have active input handling as a setting, maybe you're using an older version of Unity, that's cool, you should be using the old version. But if you do have this active input handling and it says new, for this project, let's set it to old, restart, and we'll be back here in a moment when we've done that. Within here, we've got Input Manager as one of the options. Now, within here, we have some axes. Axes means from something to something. The ones we're particularly interested in are horizontal and vertical. So horizontal is meaning pretty much left and right, and we've already got some keys that are set up for us, whether it's the WASD controls that we'd be familiar with in a first-person shooter. So the alternative negative button is A, that's moving to the left, and alternative positive button is D, moving to the right, or we can use left and right arrows. Similarly, if we have a look at vertical, you can see we've got down and up, or up and down, and we've got S and W as the keys that we can use in there. So these things are already hooked up and are easy for us to implement in Unity, but we need to remember horizontal and vertical. So I'll X out of that, jump back over into my code. So we need to make some changes within Update. The first thing I'm going to do is to move my variables down within Update. So I'll grab all 3 of these variables. I'll hit Cut, which is Control X or Command X. Get rid of a little bit of that space up at the top there, and then paste this within Update. Now, it's not going to like serialize field because we can't serialize field within Update. It doesn't make sense. And also, we don't need to be serializing the field because we're going to be controlling this dynamically with the keyboard, not by putting in the number ourselves. So we'll get rid of the serialized field in front of our variables. And let's start by looking what we need to do for X value. So instead of having a number in here, we need to be accessing the input of the keyboard. How do we do that? We start by using the word input with a uppercase I, input dot. Well, we can have a scroll around and have a look. One of the things we can access is GetAxis. So I can access axis. I know that's confusing. We need to add our parentheses, and within our parentheses, we need to be giving it some information. It's basically asking us, what axis are you looking for? GetAxis is looking for a string reference, and we denote a string reference using the quotation marks. They are just to the right of the Enter key on your keyboard, so hold down Shift and add the quotation marks, and we need to tell it which particular axis. And if you remember, we were looking at horizontal. We need to spell it exactly correct. If we get it wrong, then Unity won't know what's going on, which is one of the downsides of using string references. Horizontal with an uppercase H. Horizontal, that looks accurate. We save there. Now, X value, instead of pulling from a variable we had at the start, is going to be pulling from whatever we give it in terms of this input from the GetAxis horizontal. So let's save and see what the impact of this is. I'll click on play. Now when I hit left on the keyboard, whoa, we go flying left and right, left, right, left, right. And you can see it slowly floating up into the air because we've still got a value on our Y, which is kind of fun. It's like, oh, I'm drifting off, save me. Or maybe I'm floating up to the surface and it's like I'm getting saved. But anyway, the left and right is working, but obviously nothing else. Up and down doesn't work because we haven't hooked that up yet. And you know what? That sounds like a good challenge for you. Add a vertical axis input. So update one of our variables. I'm not going to tell you which one, but you'll be able to figure it out if you've been paying attention, so that we are moving our player forwards and backwards along the ground, that is, not flying up in the air. So pause the video, have a think about that, and when you're back, I'll show you my solution. Okay, see you shortly. Head back into our code. And within here, is it Y value or is it Z? Well, if we have a look at our widget, Y is going up in the air and Z is going into the screen. So it's Z that we need to be changing. And I will type it out, input.getAxis parentheses, quotation marks, and we're looking for vertical. And if you're not sure on the spelling, you can go back into our project settings and double check the spelling and type it exactly as it is. And while we're here, let's address the fact that we don't need a Y value. We'll just set this at good old 0, so it's sitting there doing nothing. We could also just change 0 in our statement here, but I'll leave it as X, Y, and Z, just on the off chance that we want to do something with our Y value in the future as a variable. But we could, in this instance, bake that value in here as a 0 to say that we're never going to pay attention to it. We don't need a Y ever. That's fine. So we'll save. Hopefully this is what you did, and hopefully this is the same result that you got. Click on play. First of all, make sure it's not floating anywhere, which is good. Left, right, up, down. There we go. I can move my character around, and you can see it's going really fast, which is something we're going to address in the next video where we're talking about time.delta time and adding an extra variable to control the movement speed. That's all for this lecture. Good stuff. I'll see you in the next one.